Hey, happy Friday. Week 25, COVID reflections, been 25 weeks already. It's crazy. I want to talk about two quick things, guys, from this past week and also looking forward into next week. The return of schools and equity best practices for schools and really any organization. First, in Charlotte, but also many districts across the state of North Carolina, a lot of districts are making plans to go back to school somewhat in person. And so at least in Charlotte, it's a phased approach now beginning in early October, I believe, starting with the youngest babies, pre-K through 5, and then slowly staggering after that, which I think most people are happy with and makes sense. But I think the bigger question is making sure really CMS, but any school district across the country is taking health and safety into concerns. And a lot of them are going through great lengths to do that, but will be really important to make sure teachers feel safe, families feel safe, and all the protocols are in place at the actual schools to make sure students can learn, but also do that in a safe environment for everybody involved. So I think over the next few weeks will be really important for all of us to kind of keep track of what's working in those areas and what needs to be improved. You know that New York previously this week was supposed to go back as well. Got a lot of pushback from teachers and from families saying they weren't ready and they didn't feel safe to do that. And so they've pushed back going back in person, are going to continue remote for a few more weeks. So, will be really interesting to see. And I think from our vantage point, makes sense to start with younger kids. Those are ones that maybe just don't have the skill set yet or the capacity to work and do remote learning for first and second graders. So that makes sense, where our middle school and high school kids have more kind of capabilities, if you will. But will still be important that they're safe, that they're socially distanced, and that teachers still feel safe doing it as well. And so all these protocols will be really important to make sure, and also the school buildings, which in Charlotte are pretty old, and will need as much kind of attention to make sure ventilation systems are ready to go there as well. So that'll be really important. That's something we're tracking, obviously, locally and nationally with districts across the country to see what's working and what's not, but will be important, as you know. Second, this piece around equity. And so, talking with one of our partners this week around how to really set up best equity practices. And we see this a lot with something, using this platform to share is, if you're a school and organization that cares about equity, which all of us should, it can't just be a nice to have. It can't just be a one-day PD at the beginning of the school year or, a quarterly PD session that you kind of talk and check the box and do it. It's imperative that it's really a practice baked into every day of the organization. Starts with leadership, like everything does, but of course has to be implemented and offered at every level of the organization. Hiring practices, the mission and vision of the organization. Really, it has to be baked into everything an organization does to really ensure that equity is at the forefront around race, around economic status, around socioeconomic status. And really ensuring that the leaders and the people in the organization know what equity means, knows what it looks like, and knows what it feels like in everyday practice. And so want to lift that up, and hopefully it's helpful. Again, it's nothing wrong, I guess, with a one-day PD. You're starting it, but please know it's not enough for any of us. Know that it needs to continue in a very systematic and intentional fashion within your organization to make sure it truly is a place of equity for all. So we hope those two things help. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week for week 26 updates. Thanks.